Welcome to Stories from the Center of the Universe, the podcast about the human experience.
Brett McCreight, welcome to the Center of the Universe.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate being here.
I appreciate you coming out to Ashland, Virginia, and you are in the Center of the Universe right now in two ways. One, you're in Ashland, and two, talking to me and me being focused on you is effectively putting you in the center of the universe.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, there's a joke on active duty, if you're an infantry officer, that all roads lead to Bragg. So, it's Bragg again. So yes, all roads lead to Bragg, and then in Virginia, all roads lead to Ashland.
That's right. Well said. Really well said. I like that.
Good.
Where are you living now, by the way?
I live down in Midlothian.
Okay. All right.
So just about 30 plus miles on the other side of the city.
Yeah. Took you, 35 minutes to get here or so?
Well, I came from school, so yeah, it was like 30 minutes.
Okay. Not bad. All right.
Not at all.
Nice. All right. You want to describe how you and I know each other?
Yeah, we met in the Virginia National Guard. I was trying to nail down when I first
Yeah, I can't nail it down
you
either.
were, because as an infantry guy in infantry units in the brigade, and I spent time in state headquarters at a couple non-traditional units, so our paths didn't overlap.
Yeah, and I was an engineer until I was
You were an
a
engineer.
senior 03, yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So you were senior captain. I think the division is clearly where we first worked together, but I probably saw you in other places before that. Is that fair?
Yeah.
No. We deployed together.
We definitely deployed together.
We didn't know each other prior to being pulled together into
I think that's right.
to the DMD, the deployment manning document.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 07 is when we
Yeah.
really got to
when
know
we
each other.
first knew each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then after that, one of my fondest memories of you is being at AP Hill with Witt after dinner and throwing football in the football in the big steel building at AP Hill after dinner. Like, that was so much fun.
I have a friend who refers, and she's a woman, and so it matters for the story. She will say, yeah, guys can just stand around and throw a baseball back and forth, throw a little rubber ball back and forth, throw a football back and forth. And she says it makes them happy. I get it. She said, Paul, I imagine you've thrown balls around plenty of times. I'm like, I absolutely have. And yeah, it does make me happy to do that. She goes, yeah, I have a name for that. It's called Idiot's Delight.
I'll take it.
I'll take it.
I'll take it. So early, probably Shelby, which I have a good Shelby story for you if you're
break it out
when
now.
you're ready. So
I'm ready now.
So I think Shelby is probably the first time you and our orbits started probably overlapping.
Yeah, because you were in the command group and I was in I guess we knew we were in the security directorate.
That's right.
When we were at Shelby.
Oh, so you were in security.
Yeah.
Not in.
I was not in the head shed.
And you weren't in log.
No.
Okay, good. Then I'll tell. Then the story actually doesn't relate to you, but it's a great story. So, in the command cell, it was me, Matt Smith, the agent. Do you remember the agent?
The agent. I don't remember the agent's name. I remember he had
Ken Ryan.
An impeccable smile.
Impeccable smile. And I could tell you another story about that. But as I was thinking about sitting down with you, I was thinking about that experience at the MOB site, and the most enduring. I think you were part of the Advon. Were you part of the Advon to go into Iraq? You were not, because I left early because I was part of the Advon, so I was there 2.5 weeks early.
I was at, what did we call Cast Cube back in? I was doing phase one of
whatever
you had to.
Whatever Cast Cube became.
Was it ILE maybe?
ILE, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, at MOB site. So this is a good story. So our friend and the departed, may you rest in peace, John Monahan, and the logistics cell, Sergeant Major May, a couple other folks, Billy Tucker. So in the command group, we grew to dislike these people. So let me paint a picture for it. So we go do one of the nice shooting lanes that they had at Shelby, outdoor
little live fire act.
Mock Village live fire. It was really good.
Yep.
And the agent was an ATF agent, 05. So the people who are listening, they'll understand. When we call him the agent, we call him the agent because he was an ATF agent, '05, and he was just a Ken doll. Literally, his
Yeah.
name was Ken Ryan. He was a Ken doll, but he is and was a fantastic guy. The guy you want in a firefight.
Yeah.
But he was fantastic that
And
day.
likable too.
Likable, super likable, shooting well, giving good TTPs on how to shoot and, reholster and do things. So we get done with that. It's balls hot. It's Mississippi in June.
Super hot.
Crazy hot. We get done. We march to, so it's me, Scott George, Matt Smith, maybe Alan Carter, but it's me, for sure. It's me, Scott George, Ken Ryan, and Matt Smith, the lawyer.
Right.
We get done shooting. We walk to a rally point to get picked up by the Bluebirds, we thought. So we're sitting there and we're doing the rucksack flop. We got our weapons on us. We're laid back. Anybody who's been to service, exactly the position we're talking about. We're sitting there.
It's a great position.
Great position.
After you've been working on it
Yes,
all day.
yes. It's balls hot. Laying there. And we hear a vehicle coming up. And we're like, all right, sweet, Bluebird, let's get in. Let's go home. It wasn't ours. Somebody else's. They roll off. We're like, dang, this is getting late. And it is starting to get late. It's starting to get late even for the summer. And then on the other side of the street is some of the logistics guys. So our friend John Monahan, rest in peace, Vince May, some of these other guys are on the other side of the street. Well, another car, can hear another vehicle inbound. So we go, okay, it's this Bluebird. We turn, we look. It's not a Bluebird. It's a white van. And it pulls up right next to, like right in front of us. You can imagine the intersection. We're on one side, they're on the other. White van comes up, pulls up. The driver never looks to the left. I can't remember who the driver is, but I know they never look to the left because me and Matt Smith watch this guy or girl, can't remember now. But we're like, they're not going to look to the left, are they? So they look to the right and they open the door. And all those logistics guys jump in this white van and they drive off. Never open the door to ask us if we're okay, if we got rides, whatever. So from that day forward, and I actually tried to call Matt Smith and tell him that I was going to tell this story so he'd have some more, give him a warning order. So from that day forward, we sarcastically and caustically called those guys the White Van Mafia.
I remember that name.
Right, White Van Mafia.
Yeah.
And so that was the precursor. So it was bad kind of in the rear, because QM guys, what's the motto of QM? Screw you, I got mine.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
QM guys, quartermaster guys. They're going to get their food. They're going to get their rucks or their cots, their sleeping bags.
They're getting everything first.
Right. They're getting everything first. And so from that day forward, we just had this this thing in our craw about the White Van Mafia. And so for the rest of that deployment, we, and Matt was the lawyer, so he heard a lot of the things, and there were a few.
A lot of the private things.
Yeah.
Shenanigans.
And so he'd come down. He and I ate breakfast almost every day for that 9 months. And at lunch breakfast, he'd be White Van. They're at it again. And so that's a great memory. And I was just thinking about that as I thought about coming to talk to you. But I mistake. That's right, because you were with our friend, 07.
Yeah.
Charlie Martin.
Yeah.
Was in your group, and he was.
We were roommates.
You guys were roommates.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great dude.
Yeah.
Great guy. Love Charlie.
Salt of the earth.
Even though he's a Cowboys fan.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Sure.
Doesn't make any sense.
Who's your team?
Seahawks.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Seahawks. So that's when we met. So we met way back at Shelby, and you did a lot of, I'm thinking back to your badging problems. I remember you would bring, I'm in country now. I'm jumping in country. So in country, I can remember.
Well, no, but Charlie had that job.
But Charlie did the actual, it seemed like he was in the knife fight. You were at the strategic level, and you were working issues with Van Orden.
Right.
By the way, small world, Matt Smith, lawyer, he now lives full-time in somewhere on one of the peninsulas. I think he's in Matthews County somewhere.
Okay.
Van Orden is his neighbor now. So
wild.
It's wild. So about a year ago, Matt sends me this text and he goes, "Look who's my neighbor."
That's crazy.
I was like, "Oh my gosh, Greg Van Orden." So So I remember, I can remember some, some of the some of the higher issues of, does this guy get a badge? Is this guy not? We need to get you guys this guy approved. They tried to bring Ken Ryan into that whole piece, and he of course loved that. He
Yeah.
loved being part of so that was good. So that's my framework for you in country till we get to the BDOC phase.
Yeah, which I was in as soon as I got in country. Like they said, hey, you're going to be that guy. I was supposed to be the badging guy, the tactical badging guy, the very, very, like, Charlie's days were long. I'll just
Yeah.
put it to you that way. And so they told me to go build the BDOC, and I'm like, well, I read through all the MNFI orders. They were supposed to have built the BDOC like 3 years earlier,
Right.
and nobody ever did it. Nobody seemed to care that nobody did it. I'm
Right.
like, well, what else?
45th didn't build it.
I'm like, what else are we going to do while we're over here? We have orders. Let's go build the BDOC. Like they wanted a nerve center in the IZ, and okay, so we'll go build you a nerve center. Anyway, let's back way up. You're a Seahawks fan because you grew up.
Because my mother was born and raised in Spokane, Washington.
Okay.
So my dad was born in El Paso. His dad was an Air Force officer, but he ends up, as my paternal grandfather goes to retire, he retires at Fairchild Air Force Base, which is suburban, which is outside the city limits of Spokane, Washington. So they end up at rival high schools together. They end up going to Eastern Washington together, and then Washington State. And they get married as seniors, I believe.
Okay.
And it'd be 55 years. 55 years in September they've been together. And but that's only part of it. So that's kind of the foundation. But in 1977, my dad goes and is the Charlie 275 Ranger Battalion commander at Fort Lewis.
Oh, wow.
When the Seahawks are a brand new team.
In 76, 77.
76, 77. And my wife's brother, my Uncle Rick, or not my wife's brother, my mom's brother, my Uncle Rick, he is a security guard at Nordstrom's. And Nordstrom's is comping tickets, or the Seahawks are comping tickets to Nordstrom's, right? Because they're a brand new team. They got the kingdom they got to fill up.
They're paying people to come.
People to come to the games. They're an expansion team. I think they were 4-10 their first year. They came in with Tampa.
Same year, and they're the last two teams to be new teams into the NFL that could not grab players from other teams. They had to build from people that were not on rosters and through the draft, which is why your Seahawks were 4-10, and my boys were. We started 0-14. We lost our first 26 games.
Yeah, those are Jim McKay years. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good thing he was humorous, because he wouldn't have held on to that job.
Well, him and Sam Weiss are both.
Yeah.
Those smart guys. So that's how I'm a Seahawks fan. My parents, and so we were there during the early years of the Seahawks. I still have a clock. I have a clock. Actually, I couldn't show you, but I have a clock from Sears from 79 or 80. It's got Zorn on it, Largent on it, and Sherman Smith, one of our first running backs, on it. And it's for a couple years, it kind of floated at my parents' house and nobody used it. And then about 20 plus years ago, I think I was there and I was like, I'm taking this.
Yeah, why wouldn't you?
I'm taking this, and let's get this back in our house. And it's we have a man cave wall. You don't quite have a Tampa wall, but we have
I have a massive flag over there, and I have a Doug Williams poster.
Oh, that's
over
awesome.
there.
Yeah. So we've got the same helmet thing you've got right there, but we have a dedicated Seahawks wall with a print we found, that old clock from 79, and a bunch of other stuff. I cut out newspaper clippings from the Seahawks win. We're getting off topic, but
No, you're fine.
But so the most amazing thing for us was, I'm a Seahawks fan. My wife's from Richmond. Russell Wilson's from Richmond. Russell Wilson's about to lead my team to the Super Bowl twice.
Yeah.
Win one.
Should have won two.
Should have won two. That'd be a good conversation. Should have won two. And so it was like kismet. It was a strange thing. I'm like, and I remember in like 2014, 2015, and my son remembers this, my oldest. I said, Douglas, listen to me. If you're going to be a sports fan, especially a Seahawks fan, you got to remember right now. These are the salad days.
Yeah.
These are the days when you know you're in every game. This is not going to be true forever.
Yeah. In
And
fact,
we're headed maybe in that direction.
and after you won the Super Bowl, like I'll tell you, my son's a Tampa fan because I'm a Tampa fan, just like your sons are probably Seattle fans. Same reason. He was 18 months old when they won back in 02, 03.
Yeah.
And I said, buddy, you were alive when we won. It's all good. And he goes, I don't remember any of that, Dad.
Mhm.
He goes, I'm worried that I'm gonna die and never see Tampa win the Super Bowl. And then of course we get Brady and kind of built a team from
So what was your
from
feeling? So Brady was how many years ago?
5.
Wow, was that the
It was
COVID
COVID year.
Oh,
Yeah.
that sucks.
Yeah.
I feel like this is me. I feel like every COVID championship has just like a
Well, there's an asterisk.
big, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't feel great
yeah,
about it.
yeah, yeah. Like the Lakers. I heard the other day that the Lakers won the 2020, and I was like,
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Who cares?
Who, the Dodgers won the World Series there at the area. We're huge baseball fans.
Yeah.
And we're all like, that don't count. That don't. What they play? 60 games, 80 games. That doesn't count.
Yeah. I can't remember how many games they played in the NFL that COVID year. I think they had a full season.
I think they may have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in front of no one.
Yeah.
Like it was just a weird year.
Yeah.
All right. So let me tie a knot on something that I meant to
Sure.
tie a knot on. The White Van Mafia. Like we're going to take care of ourselves first and maybe only at times. You and I are grunts. We like being around grunts because grunts are willing to do hard things and they'll let other people get the benefit of things before they'll take anything positive for themselves.
Right.
It's
Yeah, I
just
think
a
that's fair.
complete opposite mindset.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, so it's infuriating to be around people that
Infuriating.
are putting themselves first all the time.
Let me tell you a story about our friend, the departed John Monahan. So it is probably the first week we're in country. We're just trying to find our fourth point of contact with our hands in the dark.
Yeah.
Right. And I call, so I'm in, do you remember? I know you remember. You probably weren't there as much as I was. There was a meeting room in the basement. It was like at the end of it was at the end of the hall of one of the basements.
It was in a corner.
It was in a corner.
Yeah.
Right. And I was in that room and I grabbed the phone and I call and I go, hey, this is, I was still a captain. I was like, hey, this is Captain McCreight. I'm down in room X. I need a projector like right now. Like we're about to sit down and I think we may have even been doing Rip Toa stuff, but we were trying to put things together and build a framework for what was going on. And so I can't remember who I talked to in White Van Mafia land, but this guy or girl blew me off. And I had, I didn't abuse it, I didn't think, but I had coffin behind me.
Sure.
If I launched, I knew I was coming out of his.
If you're trying to get things done.
I was coming out of his gun barrel.
Yeah.
So I felt confident. I think I called back, maybe. But after that, I just ran upstairs. And I opened the door and I was like, gentlemen, ladies, whoever, I need this thing. And I remember I still had to walk the dog. Why do you need it? What are you doing? Like John, slow rolling me. And
it's a Saturday Night Live sketch.
It is a Saturday Night Live sketch. And I just remembered, I was infuriated. And then, of course, my infuriation cascades to who? To Bill Coffin. And Bill is like, don't worry, I'll jerk a knot in his whatever, fourth point of contact next time I see him. So, but that kind of intransigence just piled on. So now we got more White Van Mafia hate and discontent building. And I'm like, I don't want to work like this, but you got to work with us. Like, I don't call representing myself. I call representing Bill Coffin. Like he was the XO.
Yeah.
Like, so that's
yeah. My approach, because they were across the hall from us.
Correct.
My approach, they had to get their stuff out. They had to have this feeling of import, and you let them have their 3 to 5 minutes. They get it all out. I'm like, okay, now can we talk about you actually doing this thing for me?
Doing this thing,
please.
Yeah.
All right. So you were born in the state of Washington.
I was born in Colorado. My dad was a platoon leader or Company XO at 4th ID.
Okay.
Yep. And I still have the cup in my house because the Army tradition, the active Army tradition, not so much me sometimes in the Guard, was that you would buy a silver cup for newborns in your unit.
Yeah.
And I have my cup that that they gave my dad in December of '74.
Is your dad still around?
My dad's still around.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's still around. In fact, we're doing a lot of work right now on a nonprofit. He put together. He really has been the guiding force in this nonprofit, but he's still around. Yeah. So I was born in Colorado.
What's the nonprofit about?
It is about, so we fund Christian, Catholic nonprofits and schools to help people stay in small, especially small to medium Christian schools and Catholic schools. So when my dad retired in '93, he tried, this is my understanding, he'll listen to this and correct me later, but I think he tried to form a Catholic school sua sponte in Fayetteville, in the Fayetteville, North Carolina area where he retired, where
Mm.
he with my mother, actually Hope Mills, which is south of Fayetteville.
Are they still there?
They are not there. No, they moved back to Northern Virginia in '04 and 2004. It's always been on his heart to help facilitate however he can Catholic schools, Christian education, Christian nonprofits. And so we provide primarily we provide tuition money to schools, to needy and disadvantaged people in those schools to help them stay there
Yeah.
so they continue to get a Christian education.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And it's about 3 years old, and we're meeting soon to set up for awards in later this year.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
All right, so born in Colorado, so you were an Army brat,
Through and through.
like your
Through
entire
and through.
childhood?
My entire childhood.
Wow.
Not till I'm 50 years old. I've lived in 18 different houses.
Wow.
Yeah, 18.
That's you being an Army brat plus you being in the Army.
Being an Army brat plus me being in the Army, and my wife and I have moved 10 times.
Mm.
So a fair amount of times.
That means your
And
kids, your boys have moved.
my boys have moved. But when you're in the Guard, when you're in the AGR system, it's a different experience because you're moving inside and around Virginia,
Yeah.
which was nice. So they were able to stay close to at least their grandparents here in Richmond. Amy's parents are in Henrico. And so I had the full unbridled Army brat upbringing. So born at Carson, go to Benning for 18 months. Fort Jackson, my brother is born. Fort Lewis, 4 to 5 years. The coolest thing kind of in that late '70s, early '80s, early '80, '81 is my dad goes to Turkey.
Mm.
He's watching the Soviets invade Afghanistan, talk about full circle.
Wow.
He's at a observation post in a place called Sinop, Turkey. He's on loan from Ranger Regiment. He's done with his command. Some of your Army listeners may remember a guy named Wayne Downing. Wayne Downing was ended up being a 4-banger, 4-star. He loans my dad to this interagency group watching, I assume it was interagency, but they were watching the Soviets invade Afghanistan from Turkey, listening to the ELINT, the SIGINT, and all the stuff. And we visit him in Turkey in summer of '80 or summer of '81. So I'm 5.5, 6.5. I can't remember if it's '80 or '81. But we all have pictures of our father. Your dad was an adjutant general, so he was a soldier. And we all have visions of our dad. And for my dad, there was a picture that we took, I think it was in the Black Sea or one of the lakes. But my dad is this is probably 80. So my dad is probably 33, 32. And my dad is ripped. He is ripped. He is standing there, got some shorts, typical late '70s shorts on. He's got a shirt off. He's just jacked.
Did he have a mustache?
No, he never really had a mustache, but he's jacked. And in my mind's eye, that's the dad that I always think of.
Yeah.
Right. Even now. So that's in my mind's eye. So that happens in '81. But that picture, which is now 45 years old, like that's how I picture my dad.
Yeah.
So roughly 76, I think, to '81, we're at Lewis, and then '82 to '83, we're at Leavenworth. Excuse me.
So let me interject here real quickly. You and I have been to a lot of Army posts.
Mhm.
only the Army can establish a post on the island of Oahu, Hawaii, and find the worst real estate out of that island chain.
Right,
Right?
right,
I mean,
right.
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so, can you think of an Army post that you're like, wow, I can't believe I get to live here. This is an amazing place to live. Like when you said Leavenworth, I'm like, I mean, Kansas City's not that far away,
Yeah.
but there's nothing
There's nothing.
but prisons
Yeah.
and farming.
Now, the so that's an interesting question. The best army post probably was, it still has the language school there. It's probably Monterey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably Monterey.
I don't think there's any question.
No question. Now, the most impressive military facility that I've ever seen was, I visited my best friend, retired Army colonel guy. He was at the Navy War College in Newport, Rhode Island. Forget about it.
Yeah.
Forget about it.
Well,
Like when I started,
senior Navy guys are going to be spending time there. Yeah.
right,
Of course.
right. When I saw the pictures, I was like, you want me to drive 11 hours to Rhode Island for a week? Okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So we're at Leavenworth. So my dad in Leavenworth is in class with Petraeus.
Oh,
At least this is the way I remember the story.
okay.
And my dad has told me at least once, if not twice, that when Petraeus walked into a room, people knew that he was the smartest guy.
Yeah. Just a
Like,
1,000-pound
right,
head.
right. Because there's dick checks going on constantly.
Sure.
Right? But when he walked in, even my dad, who's one of the smartest guys I know, he was like, yeah, that guy's.
And he's not a big guy.
No,
He's
no,
not going to physically intimidate you.
no. But he is physically,
Yeah.
very physically. Your guest Bowling was talking about the Petraeus physical fitness test that he would do with his lieutenants.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he was a very physically fit, very physically
No question.
aggressive guy. But you're right, he's not 6'3", 240.
Right.
Right. So my dad is there at that school. He's at not Cascade. What am I trying to say? CGSC.
Yeah.
He's at CGSC with Petraeus. So we leave Leavenworth, we go to Benning. My dad teaches at the infantry school. Then he is an XO or a 3 at a mechanized unit. That's roughly 84 to 87 something. No, 84 to something. Yeah. Then we moved to Northern Virginia. We moved up to Northern Virginia. We live in Springfield.
For Belvoir?
No, he worked at the Pentagon. We went to Mass at Belvoir. We would drive for a while. We went to Mass on Belvoir. Was raised Catholic, not Catholic now, but raised Catholic. And we would go to Mass on Belvoir sometimes. And then he worked at the Pentagon. Then we go to Bragg. And then Bragg is roughly 89 to 93 when he retires. And by 89, I'm 14 and a half, 15. I've lived all these different places. And so that was my life. And I really enjoyed it.
Did you graduate high school in Bragg?
I graduated high school so it was weird. So I'm at high school. So I went 9th grade on Fort Bragg because we lived on post. We get bused off post. We get bused
to a local public school.
Not to a local public school, we passed several public schools to go to a Title I school in Fayetteville, inner city Fayetteville, right down the street from Fayetteville State. And it was a great experience. I learned a ton. I made a ton of good friends. But then my parents moved to Hope Mills, which is on the other side of the city. And by my senior year, I'm driving from Hope Mills to E.E. Smith every day. And I'm just done. I don't want to make that commute anymore. So for my last 6 months of high school, I switched to a closer school just to graduate because I'm tired of driving.
Yeah.
Literally, I'm tired of driving. And I'm getting ready to go to college, So I graduated from a place called Southview High School in Hope Mills.
So every Army brat I've ever talked to, or every military brat, the experience of living in a lot of different places, being exposed to a lot of different cultures inside the same country, but still lots of wild cultures all over the country, like Seattle to Fort Polk, Louisiana. I can't think of with different
Yeah.
ways of living. So it's wonderful in that way, but you don't really put down deep roots anywhere.
Right.
And that's I don't know. As a kid, do you know that that's what's happening? That you're not putting down roots?
You don't notice. I mean, I noticed with my kids. So my wife were here, she'd be pounding the table in agreement. So what happened with my oldest is my oldest was delayed with some speech and some things. And so he kind of matured late. And because he matured late and then we started moving quite a bit, I don't think he was equipped to kind of roll with it as well as maybe as I did
Yeah.
as a kid. Because I'm very gregarious, I'm very open. Uh, and not that he isn't, only that he kind of wasn't equipped at the right interval. And I actually made this point. I think I told you I'm teaching at a small Christian school just for a little bit. And I made this point the other day about opportunity. Somebody used the word opportunity in an interesting context. And I said, well, opportunities aren't equal, right? So for example, and I drew the analogy. I said, my son has friends who have never lived anywhere but Chesterfield County.
Yeah. Sure.
To your point, they've dug and nurtured and secured deep roots and deep friendships. Well, we moved back here in 2016, and we've lived on it in and out of Chesterfield County, excuse me, a couple times. And there are it's difficult. Jerry Seinfeld he's got a great bit about friendship, right? He says something like, we're not taking applications for new friends. And that's a joke I say to my wife every once in a while. Like, these people aren't taking applications for new friends. But that's different because when you go to Northern Virginia or you go anywhere near a military community, they know. They know you're going to be here for maybe 2 years, maybe 3, maybe 4. They're going to rotate out. So they're quicker to acquire friendships, learn. And we had a great time at Belvoir. Great time. I lived at Belvoir, worked right there. I walked to work. I would ride my bike to work. It was fantastic. But for my sons, and Belvoir was actually really good for my sons too, but we quickly then 3 years later took them out of it. And my son I'm pretty sure I'm getting this right. I think he was a rising junior when we left, rising junior in high school when we left. So yeah, that was tough on him. And I'm an amateur economist. There are no perfect solutions. There are only trade-offs.
There's good and bad and everything.
Yeah, there are only trade-offs.
Yeah.
And there are trade-offs to being equipped socially, to be able to move around and just be able to go somewhere and just start talking to people.
Yeah.
And just be like, hey, I'm Brett. What do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? And like embarrassing your kids. And you're like, why are you talking to random strangers? And like, this is the way I was raised. If I didn't talk to a stranger, I wouldn't talk to anybody.
Yeah.
I wouldn't talk to anybody. So I grew up military bases. Benning was one of the best places where I lived. I could run down to the Chattahoochee River and get lost for hours, come back with briars all over me, cut up, wet, dirty, nasty. My mom would be like, where you been? I was like, I was just down the hill in the Chattahoochee. And I didn't tell her that I had ended up, I think I told her this years later, but where we were, I could hit a tributary that would hit the Chattahoochee. And if you've been to Benning, you've driven over it. The Chattahoochee runs over the main drag onto Post.
Right.
Well, I would end up under that bridge and I would just clamber up and come back into Post and walk home soaking wet. And it was great. I would ride my bike to the 250-foot towers at jump school. I would ride around that place. I would go to the infantry museum right there. That infantry museum may have been a half mile from my house, maybe a third of a mile.
A lot of history there.
Right. So I'd go and I'd clamber over the 113s and all the tanks and the personnel carriers. And yeah, that Benning was special. And I was actually there with some friends whose dad. So do you remember when we were at, so this is really weird. This is some weird intersection of some ideas here. So do you remember when we were at SMR, we had a retired GO who was with us.
Yeah.
Okay, that guy, his name is John R. Vines.
Yes.
I know him personally.
Okay.
Like when we were at Benning, his boys and I would play together.
Wow.
And then we linked up again at brag. We lived 30 feet from each other's door. He led 4th Battalion of the 325 on a combat jump into Panama. That next day,
Oh, wow.
I'm pretty sure I have the story right. That next day, my mother or his mother, or his wife, walked over to one of their houses and said, "Hey, I don't know if you know, but I think John is on TV being interviewed by CNN." Like, so this is 1989. This is December of
Oh, yeah.
1989, right? And that was my experience. So the Vines family I got to know really well. Went to high school with their sons. Actually ran into one of their sons years ago. I was leaving Reagan. I was getting on a flight at Reagan. I looked over and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's Jake Vine." So that was, that was kind of the culture that we came up in. John Vines was a three-banger, three-star, great dude,
Yeah.
smart as a whip,
Super smart. Yeah.
super smart. And so we kind of grew up in that orbit a little bit
Is
with
he still
him.
around?
John Vines?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I haven't heard about him. I'd love to connect. If his son's listening to this, you guys reach out to me. I'd love to reconnect with you guys. But so that was kind of the culture that I grew up with my dad. I mean, my dad is, he's kind of a, what's the word I'm looking for? He's kind of a polymath, my dad.
Hmm.
He does he's good at a lot of different things. Used to make furniture, used to be a painter, used to paint. I have some paintings in my house, some drawings in my house. Uh, so that was kind of the culture that we grew up in. My mother's was a fantastic Army wife. Um, Supported him for all those years, and now, they're looking at 55 years
Yeah.
together. So
It's wild.
that was my upbringing. So
So when you were in school at whatever army post you guys were at, how are you spending your time? So, well, it sounds like you were down there getting
yeah,
playing the river. Were you just outside all the time?
I was outside all the time. Yeah,
It's a great way to.
I got so early on. I played a lot of baseball. Played a lot of baseball when I was young, but I was outside all the time. I can remember at Benning, I had my first as a kid at Benning. Of course, I was at Benning multiple times since then. But as a kid at Benning, I had my first paying gig as like mowing lawns. I would mow a couple of my neighbors. I would mow their lawns and just stay really active. And yeah, I was making tree forts. I played a lot. I loved GI Joes, so I'd play with GI Joes, and I just spent a ton of time outside. Played baseball primarily. Went to Northern Virginia, kind of played baseball, and then the weirdest thing happened. Uh, Moved from Northern Virginia to Bragg, and baseball gone. It's all basketball all the time.
Really?
All basketball all the time. From the summer of '89.
Just because you're in North Carolina?
Just because it was the group that I was with in the school that I was in. There was baseball, but it wasn't as important or as highlighted as basketball. And the neighborhood that we lived in was all basketball. All basketball all the time. And my older brother, I have two brothers, one older, one younger. And my older brother is a really gifted basketball player. And we just played all the time. We would play at night. We would play first thing in the morning. We would go to the gym at Fort Bragg. We would play, and this is how we got good.
It's fun.
It's fun. We would go to the gym at Fort Bragg so this is 89, 90. So I'm 15 years old. I'm basically the same size. I'm 5'10", 190. Back then I was probably 5'10", 5'11", probably closer to 170. Then playing with grown men in the Army.
Yeah.
For hours on end.
That's how you get good.
That's how you get good. Get dunked on like 10 times in a row by this 6'4", E5. You're like, dang.
Get a hip check or a shoulder check.
But you learn how to box out. You learn how to be physical. You learn how to trash talk. And so I migrated away from baseball and really never played again. And then my son, my youngest, is a good baseball player. And so he started playing. I was like, man, I used to love this so much. Because like your friend said, the idiot, what?
Idiot's delight.
Idiot's delight. Dude, there's nothing better than standing on the beach with your son and just throwing the baseball.
It's amazing.
Forth. It's so good.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Good. Yeah, it's so fantastic.
Yeah, if you're not doing that with your son, there's something wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yep.
what else are you gonna do at the beach? I mean, you're gonna go in the water, you're gonna body surf or
Yeah.
wakeboard or whatever. What those little skimboard things? Those are fun.
Yeah.
But you're not just gonna lay out in the sun to get a tan. That's not what
No.
guys do.
No.
Let's find a ball. It doesn't matter what kind of ball it is.
Yeah. And me and my youngest, we're active. We're active vacationers. So he skimboards, I bodyboard. We do all the ropes courses at the Outer Banks together.
Nice.
This last time I didn't do it because I was hurt. But we're active vacationers. We skydived together, but 2 years ago.
Nice.
For the first time. I had done static line, of course, in the service. But we're active. So yeah, my childhood was a typical Army brat childhood.
And you, looking back, have fond memories.
I do. But I was the middle of three. I just had a different makeup. It was good for me.
I will tell you what I know about middle children because I have a middle child.
Yeah.
They are if I'm going to universally apply how my middle child is to all middle children, they are the most stubborn beings on earth.
Huh.
I don't know that that's true for you.
Yeah, I don't know. You'd have to ask. You have to ask the wife. Yeah, ask Amy how stubborn I am. So
She's actually the last person I would ask. Like I'm sure Amy is in charge, and you can't be stubborn around her, or maybe you can for short bursts. But yeah. Good time. I got to tie a knot in something else. You mentioned the nicest military base you've ever been to. What about the worst Army post you ever went to? And I have an answer to this as well.
Man.
And it was a long time ago. I'm sure it's improved since.
So here's a funny story. So my somebody at our school is going to watch their brother graduate from basic at Leonard Wood.
Mm.
And I joked to my peers, said, man, that's a place you don't really want to end up.
It's Fort Lost in the Woods.
Rolla is just it's a typical Army post, but I wouldn't say it's the worst. Polk is pretty bad.
Polk's mine.
Polk is pretty bad, which is funny because my best friend was there as a Cav lieutenant ages ago, and he and his wife had a great experience. And they're probably hopefully they'll listen to this. They had a great experience. They had their first daughter there. But I think the essence of it, I think I understand this. The essence of it was, unlike other places, that was all you had. You had the community on that post together, so it made the relationships more important, more vital, and maybe more vibrant.
And the physical stuff, who cares?
Yeah. But it starts to add up, right? When you want to have opportunities.
I mean, I wasn't on active duty, but the 2 times I went down there, one time they had a bat guano problem, like a pervasive bat guano problem.
Funny.
And another time, the barracks we were supposed to stay in had flooded.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where is this? And, oh, by the way, if you're down there in July or August, it feels like the hottest place on earth.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah. So anyway, that Fort Polk is definitely my vote. By the way, I know you and I have both seen the movie and read the book. We Were Soldiers Once Young.
Yep.
The houses that the colonel stayed in and members of that unit. Did you live in a house like that? Did your family live in like that?
You mean at Benning?
Yeah.
In Benning. So here's the funny thing. I think this is true. I'm pretty sure that the house that is in the movie is the house that I lived in. And here's why I know. Here's why I suspect.
Because they filmed it in the actual homes at Benning.
I know. Amy was there. We were there. I was there when they were filming it.
Oh, really?
Amy would sit in the backyard with our oldest, Douglas.
Oh, you were stationed there when
we were stationed there when I was in the advanced course when they were filming it. So Amy would sit in the back, sometimes sit in the backyard with Douglas. We were in some terrible World War II octoplexes, like eight townhouses in a row. They were horrid. We had mice. But Amy would sit in the back and she would very often hear them filming. And we would see them filming. There are guys from my advanced course class who I can point them out to you in the movie. And I can point to them and that guy is in I know that dude. That dude
Were they
was in my
extras?
class. They were extras.
Okay.
So the running scene,
Yeah.
there's a running scene early before they deploy, and they're kind of in their BDUs, they're in their BD or their khaki bottoms and their maybe the white tops or the white shirts, I can't remember. And he stops them from like a little encouragement speech or something. And there are two or three guys who are standing there, and I'm like, I know all three of those. I was in class with all three of those guys. So they filmed that while we were there. There is the reason I think that house is the house that we lived in is I remember doing a project with my dad. This is so funny when I listen to this. But at the end of the driveway, there was this triangle of grass that you couldn't get to grow. So my dad said, forget that. We're not going to do that. Let's dig this out and we're just going to fill this with brick. It's still there. And I remember breaking the brick and laying the brick in that triangular piece. And so there's a scene where I'll tell you the other reason I think I know. There's a scene where his wife leaves the house to walk through the front yard, and I see it. And I was like, I know that. Like I put that down there. Here's the other interesting thing about that house. The backyard is actually the front yard. I gotta tell a story about my dad in a minute.
Yeah.
So the backyard is the front door of that house faces the woods, and they never made a road. They never put a house or a neighborhood behind it. So the front door is not toward the road. The front door is away from the road.
Wow.
It's strange. So my dad, great American, hard worker, unafraid as an officer of breaking the rules. So my dad rebuilds cars. Bless you. And so the garage goes underneath the house in that arrangement.
Really?
So as you come off the road, you go down and the garage goes underneath the house, which means there is a wall. I mean, I'm sorry, there is a culvert. I'm lacking the words here. Culvert. So, but my dad needs to get the engine out of this 74 Carnegie that he's bought. So he goes in the backyard. We cut down a tree. We lay it across the railings of this sunken, there's the concrete abutments that kind of build it up.
Yeah.
You're an engineer. You probably know the
Sure.
names. He runs some chain over the top of this tree to hoist the engine out of the car. Well, he does this. Maybe it's up there for a day or two. I don't know. Maybe my dad can remember. But I remember the MPs come by and they come up to the house and they're like, sir, you can't do this anymore. You cannot have this tree over the top of this driveway ramp with this engine hanging from it. You need to make a different arrangement. So that was
what was their concern?
I don't know if it was a safety thing or an eyesore thing or like
Probably
hey,
an eyesore thing.
We're gonna get in trouble if we see that we're allowing you to do this.
Yeah.
Something like that. So
there's a fair amount of CYA.
Yeah. So anyway, that back to the original point. I think that is the house, and if we watch it, I could probably show you exactly.
So to be clear here, Colonel Hal Moore did not live in that house when he was serving in the 60s.
Probably not.
But you lived in that house, and then they filmed
I lived in that house 83 to 86. They filmed that in 2000. So 14 years later.
So Mel Gibson walked through a house that you used to live in.
Yes.
It's a great movie too, by the way.
It's really well. I will tell you, this is so and when I got to Korea, so I went from the advanced course, I went to Korea. I traded with a guy. Amy and I were still in some student loan debt. So we were talking about where I wanted to go, and I was like, this is back in you may remember this is back in the light mech days. Infantry guys couldn't go light to light. They had to go light to mech.
Yep.
So I was like, well, maybe if I volunteer for Korea, I can get around this light to mech thing. And I can come back where I want to go. So I said, well, what if I went, I got to do an unaccompanied or an OCONUS thing anyway. Let me see if somebody's got Korea, and maybe I'll just go do Korea for a year. You go home to Richmond, live with your family, pay off some debt, and then we'll and then we'll just go from there. And so that's what we did. And when I got to Korea, I met a guy in the B dock at Camp Hovey, and he had been in the movie in like multiple places. He had just gotten there like a couple weeks before me because I had to go to the worst Army school I ever went to, Bradley Leaders Course. The worst,
What made it so
the
bad?
most unprofessional cadre of Army instructors I'd ever seen. And this
Wow.
includes all the reserve component stuff I'd done since then. The worst.
Wow.
You want to talk about retired on active duty? It was these yahoos.
Wow.
It was terrible. It was really bad.
Is the Bradley community known to be like that, or is it just bad timing?
Maybe it was bad timing. Maybe it was a bad group of instructors. But me and the other me and the other captains were looking around each other like, "This is what we're getting." It was not good across the board. I would come home and complain every night to Amy, like, "Those guys don't care."
Yeah, and that's our tax money
Yeah,
not being well
yeah.
used.
Oh, it was so bad. So when I get to Korea, I saw this. So that's why I was kind of later than this guy. He got into country, was doing some BDOC stuff before he went down to a battalion. And he said, "Yeah, man, I was all over that." So the scene in the Doughboy Stadium, which was like just like a quarter mile from where I lived. And as a kid, I ran around Doughboy Stadium all the time.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Yeah, man, I was an extra in there. And did you know?" This is what he told me. He loved telling me this. He said, "Did you know that at every break, Mel Gibson was smoking like a chimney?" He said every time the camera stopped, it was, and then boom, they would yell cut. He would throw it away, and he would be like, "Perfect."
Yeah. Wild.
Yeah. So that guy had been there too.
So, it just hit me when we left Iraq, when we were leaving the IZ. You did something that Colonel Hal Moore did in the movie. You were the last one to step into the what vehicle did we take?
Was I the last one to get in the?
Yeah, you were the last one.
You think you sure?
Yeah, because
Man,
I asked
don't
you.
remember this.
I asked you about it.
Oh,
And you're like, yeah, that's what I was doing.
oh, interesting. Yeah. The Rhino,
Rhino, yeah.
to get out of the IZ over to buy
Yeah,
it.
it felt like there was an engine not big enough to carry. I don't know. It felt like the thing was 15 tons.
Oh yeah, it
Yeah.
felt completely unsafe.
Yeah, it felt ridiculous. Like it was going to break down any second.
Right.
All right, so
memory.
best memory from your active duty time, best experience from your active duty time.
JRTC was a good memory. Kind of a serendipitous thing that I didn't put together till later is my battalion in the 82nd. We went to JRTC. That JRTC rotation was just about 20 years after my dad had gone to JRTC with Charlie Company 275
Wow.
Ranger Battalion. So that was kind of neat. That was kind of like a bookend thing. Earning my EIB was big. That was fun. Jumping into some air shows up here at Andrews Air Force Base. That was fun. A lot of stuff in Korea was good. Korea was interesting. Korea, because you really compress like 3 years worth of training into 1 year, so you're constantly in and out of the field, especially even at a brigade headquarters level where I was.
So you're not even really experiencing Korea. You're just
I could have done more, should have done more, but you are hopping and popping with command post exercises, multiple command post exercises, and big ones too. Like, how do you defend the peninsula?
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh.
Well, that's why we're over there, right?
Yeah. And I felt like I did have the opportunity to drive around a lot of kind of northern South Korea up to the Z. So I went to the Z. I knew a guy who was a platoon leader at the Joint Security Area, so I was able to go up there, see the world's most dangerous golf hole, which is right there.
Really?
Literally, so the par 3 goes kind of east-west, but if you turn north, you can almost get into North Korea.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was able to see, I was able to go to one of the OPs in South Korea that looks into North Korea.
What's the vibe at the DMZ?
Well, just
Back
20 years. This is now 20 years stale. I will tell you, when you get there, they emphasize there's a thing called Operation Paul Bunyan. So I think it's the late 70s. A major in the JSA looks across, realizes that a tree has been either fallen or grown or moved to obscure an important line of sight, an important uh, my words are failing me. Firing angle, and so he goes across to cut it down or to chop it down, and they kill him.
Oh
The
my
North
gosh.
Koreans kill him. And my understanding is, if I'm remembering this correctly, like the US responds by like steaming like aircraft carriers off the coast of North Korea,
Wow.
North and South Korea. Operation Paul Bunyan, I think is what it's called. And I'm sure, and I think they go across the sea and they cut that down. Well, that event is like constantly refreshed in the mind when, at least when I was there. So that's late 70s. This is early 2000s. It's actually 2001. I was in Korea during 9/11. But that is a kind of that is a reminder of just how volatile and uncertain that area is.
Yeah.
Um, I think when I was there, there were multiple uh, manned underwater devices to try to get under not the Yalu River, to try to get by boat underneath to the south. Um, and yeah, it's been a long time since I was there. Just the JSA takes our job very seriously. They're very proud of it. There's an O Club up there that if you can get in there, it's pretty remarkable to get into that O Club and see all the dignitaries that have been in there and all the big coins that are in there,
Yeah.
presidents and 4 stars and 4 stars. Um, so
Could you not get in there?
no, we got in. That's how I was able to see it. I think my buddy knew the S1 up there. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think my buddy was friends with the battalion S1, because that's a battalion size element. That's a
Yeah.
battalion size JSA. So yeah.
All right. So how long were you regular army?
So I was regular army for about 5 years.
Okay.
Then 9/11 happens. My wife's back here. Being detached from the regular world during 9/11 was just a fascinating thing. Didn't make and I was kind of like, oh, do I keep doing this? So my 9/11 story is we went to bed that night. I go to bed early. I read in bed, fall asleep. So I read in bed, fall asleep. So that happens at 8. So the first towers hit 8:20, somewhere between 8:20 and 8:40 Eastern Standard Time. Well, we're 12 hours ahead.
Yeah.
So by the time it happens, it's already 8:30. I'm already powering down. We're not in the field, thankfully. So we're not in the field. So I'm powering down. I'm reading. I'm going to bed. So I go to bed, and my roommate, great guy named Mike West, who just retired, he retires in '06. He's my neighbor across the hall. We work together in the 3 shop. I write the orders. I write orders and do a lot of ops stuff. He writes more of the plans. He's doing like exercises, plans and exercises, what we called it. He bangs on my door at like 03, and he's like, "Dude, somebody ran into the Pentagon with a plane." I'm like, okay, this happened in the 90s. Like, people flew, unskilled, untrained pilots in the 90s. A couple of them would get caught in the whatever draft and end up turned the wrong way and kind of heading into. I got it. I was like, it's probably a Cessna. And he goes, "No, dude, no. It was like 2 or 3." And by then they knew the whole story. By the time I'm hearing this is 03. So this is like 5 hours. Yeah. So all the towers are down by then.
Yeah.
And so we kit up, we run over to our B dock, and our life changes. Our life changes in a heartbeat. Like, we're locked down. I'm at Camp Hovey, which is a camp just south of Camp Casey. Casey has got basically a tank battalion and a light infantry battalion. We're the brigade headquarters. We're just south of it. Our gates slam shut. It's September 11th. So
Nobody knew what.
Nobody knew what to do. And
Yeah.
so I get peeled off. We're supposed to go to the field the next day or the day after. And so they peel me away, and they're like, "Hey, you're really good at writing orders and analyzing regulations," because DOD is like pumping out all this force protection guidance.
Probably in an unwieldy way too.
Right. And it's
A
like,
lot of conflicting guidance.
right.
Yeah.
So they're like, you stay here, you work with the two, because anti-terrorism force protection is not the two's responsibility, it's actually the three's. You stay back here and rewrite all the ATFP implementation guidance. Like, hey, battalions, you're going to rotate these number of people, because we had to like augment every gate. So our lives changed. So long story short, so that happens. We're in Iraq, we're in Korea watching the invasion happen in Afghanistan, right?
Yeah.
12, if you've seen 12, what's it called? 12 Strong or whatever.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
Yeah. So that happens while we're over there, and we're kind of detached. I mean, it's just the reality. We're in a foreign country watching our country go to war in another foreign country, and it felt detached. And I was like, man, I don't know. I feel like I'm not doing a lot of good, which is funny because my best friend, the guy who just retired as a colonel last year, years later, he says the same thing. But guess where he says it from?
Mm.
He's in Afghanistan as an ODA team leader. And he goes, I'm not sure we're making a difference. I'm not sure we're doing the right thing. And so here it is, a month after 9/11, and I'm in Korea writing, which is there's value in it.
Sure.
This isn't a moral statement. It's just a statement of, am I really making a difference? I'm writing all these anti-terrorism orders. I'm watching, I'm drawing all these pictures and getting all this rotation, these security rotations. And so I say, you know what? I'm going to join the reserves. I'm going to go back and be a cop in Virginia. Because every day you can make a difference. So I come back. I start in Henrico Police Academy. Your boys, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'll never forget this. So I come back a year later. I leave the Army July 17th of 2002. I start the Henrico Police Academy September of '02. Start the process. I'm getting along okay. Some of the kind of 20 something police officers don't like me because I'm a little older. I've got an opinion. I've actually been a leader. So I ask questions at intervals maybe I shouldn't have. Long story short, we're at King's Dominion, ironically, not far from here.
Yeah.
We're at King's Dominion on a Sunday night practicing felony stops, light sirens, the whole bit, gun drawn, get out on the ground, the whole bit. We're doing that. All of a sudden I get a phone call from one of the officers flags me down and is like, hey, you need to go call Sergeant Smith. Hey, Sergeant Smith, Captain McCreight, what's up? Hey, we're getting deployed. This is December of '02 or early January of '03. We're getting deployed. Like, are you kidding? No. I was like, all right, okay. This is going to be an interesting next couple days. So we end up getting mobilized. Well, I go to the Henrico leadership and I'm like, hey, here's the deal. I'm a reservist. I'm getting called up. If I come back and do this, am I going to have to do the whole thing? Yes.
You knew the answer.
I don't think I'm going to make it back. Regardless of how my deployment goes, I don't think I'm coming back to this. So my wife, here's where your boys, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, come in. That Super Bowl,
By the way, arguably the best defense of all time.
next to the Legion of Boom, for sure. So that Super Bowl, I watched with Amy that night. You guys put it on them.
Yeah.
You guys put it on them.
We didn't leave much doubt.
Because Gruden knew everything they were going to do.
It was unfair.
It was unfair. It was like, and Gannon, he didn't know how to zig while they were zagging. So Amy and I sat there, we watched that Super Bowl, that blowout. The next day I drove to Bragg. We drove to Bragg and we got mobilized to Bragg. And then after that, I was really back in it. So
Where did you deploy?
Well, we deployed stateside. We came back here. I was part of a reserve element that mobilized other units.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
We mobilized. We ran mobilization stations. So we came back to Fort Lee, as a matter of fact, and we mobilized a couple units out of Fort Lee.
Now Greg Adams, but certainly called
Yeah,
Fort Lee.
Greg Adams. Yeah.
And then your M day in the Guard for how long?
I was never M day in the Guard.
Really?
I was M day in the Guard 2 days. The day before I came on AGR and the day after I left AGR. I got I competed for and was selected to serve in the 34 CST, and was never an M-Day soldier.
So that time with Henrico, when you were
Mhm.
going through there,
I was in the reserves out of
you were
Defense
USAR.
Supply Center.
I got
Yeah,
you.
Defense Supply Center.
By the way, I'm not that I want you to give away any secrets, but DGSC may be the strangest place that I've ever been.
Yeah.
It feels like there might be 1,000 people there, but you never see anybody.
Yeah, I haven't spent a lot of time there. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, of course, the guard headquarters is there now.
Yeah.
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 Mhm.
But you got out before that became the guard headquarters.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So guard experience. You came into the guard in '02. Sounds
03,
oh
August
03.
of 03. I was hired by Colonel. What's his name? What's his first name? Not John Mahoney. Bill Mahoney.
Bill Mahoney.
Colonel Bill Mahoney
Yeah.
hired me
Okay.
to be the operations officer for 34 CST.
Okay.
Ricky Kaiser,
Sergeant Major.
yes, Sergeant Major, was the team. He was the team sergeant. He was the senior team sergeant for the team. I think
I'm a huge fan of Ricky Kaiser.
he is a great American.
Oh my God.
He's a hardworking, great American.
Yeah.
For sure.
You want to be on his team for sure.
Yeah, and you want to be on his team. You want him to be on your team for sure.
Yeah, there's no doubt. All right. Do you have any fond memories from the guard?
Oh, lots. The people. Let me tell you. So my if I could do it all again, experience is the thing you get when you don't need it anymore. So what really sealed for me the value of the guard is when we deployed, right? On average, the guardsmen or reservists, they tend to be 2 to 3 years older than and maybe even more, than the commensurate active duty guy and kind of this guy or girl in the same role. So there's more professional flexibility to zig and to zag.
And they've experienced a broader set of things than somebody just went straight active after school.
Correct. Exactly. So I really, really appreciated that during deployment. But when I first got in the guard, I was an arrogant sucker. Like, you guys don't know what you're doing. You don't take this seriously.
There was some truth to that.
Yeah, I was not a good teammate. I could have been
a hard transition.
It is. I could have been a much better teammate when I first joined. But my guard experience was great. I got to deploy with guys like you. I got to serve with Bill Coffin, who's a great American, fantastic
one of the
guy.
best Americans.
One of the best. One of the best. One of the cussinest guys I've ever met.
Well, he's a Boston guy.
He's Boston. He's Boston through and through. And then he got replaced. And then in the division, he gets replaced by the other cussinest guy, who's a lapsed Philadelphia Jew. I think it's what he used to call himself, right? Bill Corson, that's what he used to say.
Both great Americans.
Great dudes.
Yeah.
I got to, we got to deploy. I got to go to a bunch of places, supported great things. We went to Maine. I got to go to Maine with the division, South Carolina to deploy with the division. Dude, I got to meet Chuck Whittington. I mean, are you kidding me? I probably quote, and I hope he listens to this, I probably quote Chuck Whittington once a week.
Really?
Yeah.
I wasn't around him that much.
Yeah. I quoted him the other day.
Give me one of his quotes.
Great quote. He said, "I don't get paid to manage the black and white. I get paid to manage the gray."
He's right.
That's why they pay me.
Yeah.
And he said, "Brett, colonels, majors, lieutenant colonels, they get paid to manage the black and white. Senior leaders get paid to manage the gray." Never forget it.
Yeah.
Never forget it. Now, he was irritating as hell sometimes. And I hope he's listening. He was so irritating. I remember our first drive to Fort A.P. Hill for AT. It's 95 southbound in early June on a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Sir, I can't move the traffic any fast. Get off the highway. Get off the highway. Sir, okay, what do you want to do? You want to take back roads? Yes. Movement is better than sitting. Even if it takes 2x longer, at least we're moving.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh. Okay, we'll do it. But he was fantastic. His perspective, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna try to do this delicately. He understood who he was and his role in a way that future division commanders did not,
Mm.
right? He knew that he could not linger in certain places. He knew he had to be managed to a degree such that when he left and the other guy came in, you mentioned him earlier, I won't mention him. He didn't want to be managed. And at a senior level like that, you have to let your people manage you. And so I would do my best with Whittington. Sir, sit down. I'm going to log on your system. You're going to spend the next hour signing these OERs. I'm going to log you in. I'm going to get all the way there, and then you're just going to press sign.
Yeah, because he's part of the team too, right?
Right. He's part of the team. Right. Sir, you're going to go to this place for this amount of time. This is what you need to know. Here are the people whose hands you need to shake. Here are the soldiers you need to talk to. And then you need to leave. Because people don't work when generals are around.
Yeah.
And he knew that.
You can't linger. Yeah.
You can't linger. And he really understood that well. And he was really, really, I tell you what, I haven't said this is one of my one, and I told him this on we had to take a long drive down to Richmond Airport for some reason. And I said, sir, here's what I appreciate most about you. If we give you read ahead package, you read them.
Yeah.
And he was good. You know, you experienced it.
He's a professional.
He's a professional.
Yeah.
Like he knew. And so the guys and girls who got in trouble with Whittington were the guys and girls who either didn't remember what they wrote or came in and veered more than 10 to 45 degrees. And then he would just stop them. And I would feel bad. But I would say, if you wanted to say X and Y, you shouldn't have written A and B.
Right.
But he honored your time in a way that made you want to work for him. Hey, sir, I put this thing together. Here's the white paper. Here's the whatever. Remember, I told you Ake and Donnelly and the other guys. Hey, sir, we put this thing together. He would nug on it. He would red pen it. Man, he was so good.
Yeah.
He was so good. He was so professional.
And he seemed to always be on.
Most of the time.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
You saw him all the time.
I saw him all the time. I knew more about him than he knew about himself. The things I knew. Hey, sir, if you're listening, I could have put you in debt so far you wouldn't be able. No, I'm just kidding. But it was a great experience to work with him. And it's just it is a different set of skills and relationships that you get exposed to in the reserve component. The active duty is, my best friend is retired 06. He is a high performer. He is a high performer. He is, but he's doing a completely different job than an 06 on the M-Day side.
Yeah.
It's a completely different job. And you, in our sense of equality, we don't feel like it should be, but it is. It's a different role.
Yeah.
It is a different role. And so, we're not as good as just a straight, I say we in the Guard, especially the Guard infantry community, we're not as good as the active component about like talking about war fighting the way they talk about it. Right.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you a funny story. So I'm at the basic course. I'm in the bathroom at Building 4, what used to be called Building 4. I don't know if it's called that anymore.
I hope it's still called that.
I hope so. I'm at Building 4 in the bathroom in between classes. And this tall African-American gentleman is next to me. It's Lloyd Austin.
Wow.
It's Lloyd Austin. He was briefing our class. Excuse me. He was coming in to teach our class next. He was battalion commander in the 05, I think, 505th. And he started talking about night live fire with a company-sized redirection. Not a straight ahead linear, straight ahead attack the objective. He was talking about night, change direction, live fire movement. Like the guard doesn't talk like that.
No.
We don't talk like that.
That's beyond our wildest dreams.
Beyond our wildest dreams.
Yeah.
But there are so many things that we are good at: adaptability, the maturity, all those things. And as a young officer, you want to do the sexy stuff.
Sure.
You want to do the sexiest thing. And the maturity that Bill Phillips had that I was overlooking, you get it later. You get it later.
Yeah, well, the idea of the active duty doing a night live fire where you have to change direction, if you practice something 150 times or 20 times or whatever it is, you've got the capacity as an active duty unit to be in the field for the next 45 days.
Yeah.
And practice that a whole lot. Guard, you're doing what, 15 days
Yeah.
every summer, and you've got 48 UTAs.
Yeah.
So 24 days plus 15. 39 days.
But this is what I learned from our experience back in 07, 08, and what I saw at a great Americans who have done it, even after I did, and after that is, by and large, the majority of our guardsmen are going to step up and do really well. Some of them are not. We had some guys that probably should not have gone in country with us.
Sure.
And then they got in country and we were like, dang it, we shouldn't have brought you with us.
Yep.
But by and large, the vast majority of those men and women are going to step up and do really well.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the best people I've met in the Guard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So for the casual listener who's not in the Army National Guard or the Air National Guard, what's the mission of the Army National Guard in Virginia? And I don't mean specifically what they're focused on now. I mean, just how do they think about the Army National Guard? I'm really asking about, you work for the governor until you don't work for the governor, and now you're working for the president.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing for the casual listener to wrap their head around.
Yeah, I mean, you have two bosses. You're responsive, and you're relevant, and you're responsive to the governor and what he or she needs. In my instance, my personal experience, I can only tell you during McDonald's tour as governor, Hurricane Irene and the earthquake in
Not far from here
happens.
Yeah.
And so we're hopping and popping for a good 30 days. We got soldiers doing points of distribution. We got soldiers doing on standby. We got high water rescue. We got a lot of different things going on. So we have to have those assets and those tools and those teams ready to help the governor, but also have to be ready to turn around, send guys to Moab Station like Shelby, like we did, and to go do that. And so it is have your blade just sharp enough so that you can go to Shelby and get better.
Yeah.
And not have to start from zero, but also be relevant and ready here in the Commonwealth. Thank God I was gone during COVID, but that sounded like a nightmare. They did a ton of stuff. They did testing. They augmented Department of Health agencies and points of distribution and testing sites. And so I guess you didn't ask for this, but I'll give this to you. I was talking to somebody maybe in the last little bit, and I said, I'd love for my sons have no inclination, I think, to join the service. I think my youngest should join the service and become a chaplain because his heart is in the ministry and he is a risk taker. So he should just go. We joked when he was a kid that he loved dogs so much that he should be the SEAL jumping out of the back of the aircraft with the dog strapped to his chest. Like, that's who he should be, right?
Yeah.
But I was telling somebody else, there is never a bad time to serve your country. It sounds so trite and it sounds so banal, but it's true.
Yeah.
There's never a bad time. And the Guard does it in a way that active duty can only appreciate, rarely. During Katrina, 82nd goes to, excuse me, 82nd goes to New Orleans. But that's different than the Guard going to New Orleans. Heck, John Epperly took folks to Mississippi and helped.
Yeah.
Right? I was in the brigade headquarters then. I don't know what you were probably in engineers.
Yeah.
But the Guard coming to New Orleans or just being there and starting to respond, that is way different than the 82nd, who are great Americans and they have an awesome mission.
But they don't know
tremendous heritage.
They don't know how to talk to the residents.
But they don't know how to talk to the residents. They don't know just like I was at the beach. I was at SMR a couple years ago, And I ran into, dang it, his name's on the tip of my tongue. He was a battalion commander, and he had 100 soldiers in, it was after COVID. It was after uh, the nonsense with the monuments.
Yeah.
What is his name? If he's listening to this, he's going to be so mad. But anyway, I saw him at the beach.
You'll think of
I
as
will.
soon as we stop recording.
Yeah, as soon as we stop recording. So I saw him on the beach and I was like, hey, brother, how are you, man? And he was like, hey, congratulations on battalion command. I hadn't seen him in a bit. Our paths had overlapped at ROTC. I taught ROTC at Virginia State. And I said, hey, how's battalion command? He goes, brother, I was in downtown Richmond with 100 dudes trying to figure out what we were doing about the monuments in response to the whole George Floyd stuff. And so that's what the Guard does.
Yeah.
And I was talking to somebody today about, retrospectively or retroactively thinking about the Iraq war and the Afghan war, right? Like the propriety of it, the value of it. And you hate to be that guy that says, mine is not to question why, mine is but to do or die, right? But where you and I were in our roles in 07 and 08, we didn't have that choice. And so it takes a lot of humility to suborn your personal desire,
Sure.
right? There are probably a couple guardsmen who watched what was happening downtown. This happens every day with our police and our first responders. You're protecting a guy doing a lawful thing that you hate, defacing a monument, tearing it down, or simply protesting for a thing you don't like, right? That takes so much humility just in that moment to say, he's doing that thing. It's okay. It's covered by our Constitution. God bless our country, our Constitution. And I'm going to let him or her do it.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to act on my own opinion, my own volition, or try to make happen what I want to make happen in this moment. I'm just going to suborn myself to the situation. I got this body armor on. I got this club. If that guy crosses that line, I got to whack him. Otherwise, stay over there and protest. And even though I completely disagree with you, you have the right to do it.
Yeah.
And so
we're the only country on earth like that.
Man, it's rough. It is rough to kind of communicate that to people who've never felt it, right? Like you and I have been other places and done other things.
Yeah.
And it's, you get home to this country and it's the best.
It's the best. And we seem to complain about stuff more than anybody, but I guess that's part of our success.
Yeah.
All right, let's end because we're
Yes,
at hour 22.
Yeah.
Tell me more about your wife and sons.
So my wife, Amy, we've been together 30 years, married 29 in August. She is from Richmond. She's a Richmond native.
What?
August 3rd.
We're August 1st.
August 1st.
Yeah.
Of 96.
98 for us.
98. No, I got you by.
I was a little bit older. I told my wife I wanted to be 30 before we got married.
That's funny because here was my math. I wanted to be done with kids by the time I was 32.
Really?
So that regardless of how old the oldest was, I would be at least 50. That the youngest would be 18 by the time I was 50.
Yeah.
Like that was the kind of the.
I was not thinking that way.
Yeah. But again, I told you. Well, I don't know if we're recording. When I was 5 years old, I wrote in one of these journals, I want to be a soldier. And by the time I was a teenager, I knew I wanted to be a dad. Right. So that was like so important. So Amy, she grew up on the West End. She went to Grove Avenue School. She doesn't like to hear this, but she was the valedictorian.
All right.
She's very bright, very beautiful. Her dad ran Lucky's convenience stores. He helped run those through the 80s and the 90s. Especially there was one across from the race track for a bunch of years that he ran. She has 3 brothers. They're all in Virginia. 2 of them are here in the Richmond metro. One of them's out in Charlottesville. We went to Campbell University together. That's where we met 30 years ago, started dating. I told her a story she knows the story, but we were in a Christian ethics class together, and I was standing outside of the classroom before it started, and one of my other ROTC friends was looking at her. And I think I sat next to her, or 2 seats next to her. But this guy, I think his name was Ricardo. He was asking me about her. It's like, who is that? She's kind of good looking. Uh, and I said, well, I think her name's Amy. I think she's from Richmond, because Amy and I had kind of spoken in another class that we had in a previous semester. And Amy was petrified. Later, she tells me she was petrified that I was going to ask her out for him or try to connect the two of them because she didn't care for him. So that's one of those funny stories. She was like, "Oh, I was so afraid you were going to ask if I wanted to talk to that guy, and I didn't." So she's been a great trooper. Oh, 10 moves, 30 years, 10 moves. That's a move every 3 years.
Yeah.
She got really good at it. She's really active in our church. We're active in our church, and we got 2 sons. Douglas is 26. He works for the state and does some licensing things for them, which is good for him because he's kind of and I've told him this, so I'm not saying anything out of school. He's kind of a squared off, rules based kind of guy. So
Sure.
he's kind of like there are regulations or way we do business, and so that licensing
That
framework
fits for him.
fits for him.
Yeah.
Completely fits his personality. Years ago, he and I drove from, we took the metro into DC to see a Wizard game. And I remember I took him to dinner and I said, I think you should be a police officer. I said, because that's how you're built. Like you're built like your mother. Your mother is very rules-based, firstborn, rules-based, squared off. So I think that's what you should do. Hasn't done it yet. Maybe he will. I don't know. He'd be good at it. He'd be good. And then our youngest is 21. He's at college in Charleston Southern University down in Charleston. Thank you for making us go to Charleston. We have to. Oh no, we have to go to Charleston. Yeah,
it's rough.
It's rough. It's rough. Do you want me to go to Charleston? I can't do it. Yes, I can. 6 hours.
Have you taken a tour of downtown?
Yeah, I did it with Tommy Dew.
Oh, nice.
That's right.
Did we talk about that?
Yeah, I linked you up with Mr. Dew.
That's right.
That's right. That's right.
That was. Have we talked since I
don't know.
had him on the podcast? I think he's a genius.
I think he is. I think that's right.
Yeah.
Dude, I knew. I don't know if I told you the story.
That's right. You connect me to Tom.
In the first 10 minutes of our time together with that guy, I knew I was in love. So we link up. You've been to Charleston.
Sure.
Market Street.
Yeah.
The Market Street. He meets us at the end. We walk like 200 meters. We stop. He starts talking about the dialect of Tidewater, Virginia. And I'm like, I would love. And so my buddy, who I mentioned earlier, the retired 06, he and I are like Remora to this shark of Tommy Dew. We're just eating everything that's falling at him. We're just eating it. We're just right next to him for the next 2 hours.
Yeah.
For the next 2 hours.
He never gives the same tour twice.
Oh, golly, he's so gifted. And here's the killer. So I hope my dad doesn't listen to this.
Well, I think your dad's going to listen.
I don't know, but my dad would love an hour and a half with him.
Oh yeah,
It would be
sure.
so good, so good. That guy was so good, and I think he is a genius.
Yeah, I
Like
do.
I didn't know the story he told you about. What was the other band? Hootie and the Blowfish.
Yeah,
It was like
yeah.
him and Hootie and the Blowfish. I'm like, oh my gosh, what a story. This guy is amazing. And he was, it is not coincidence. And I may have texted you about this. When he mentioned that he had theater training, it was obvious. Once he said that, I was like, clearly, because everything was so crisp. He never said, he never stuttered. He didn't look at a 3x5 card. Everything was right there. It was, so good. So good. It is the best $35 I've probably ever spent. Like, it only cost me $35 to walk with that guy for an hour. And we got more time because here's what happened. We kind of separated, but the way me and my family and my buddy's family, we were walking to just go get something to eat and drink, we ended up right next to him. So we walked with him for another half an hour and he kept talking, or another 20 minutes. He kept talking to us. It was fantastic.
You know where he grew up?
Yeah, he grew up here.
Hanover County.
And he went to St. Chris.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I remember when that podcast popped. I was really, really excited. I was like, wow, I want to learn more about this guy.
Yeah, hundreds of thousands of people should hear his story. It's a pretty cool story.
It's amazing. Amazing. So anyway, you were asking about, so finish up with Alex. So Alex is our youngest, 21, Charleston Southern, probably end up in the ministry field, probably should consider being a chaplain in the service. He likes doing the stuff. He doesn't like running, but he likes jumping out of airplanes. He likes shooting guns. He likes being a little bit wet, a little bit dirty, likes being out with the dudes and with the young ladies who want to do the hard things. And I'm like, go be a chaplain. Think about it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of our extended family. My family's in Northern Virginia. I got a brother in Metro Seattle in a place called Bellevue.
Mm-hmm.
And I got another brother in Southern Pines area, North Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's the McCreights.
Very cool, man.
Yeah.
Did you get to things you wanted to talk about? Because I
Yeah.
imagine.
Well, I would just say, if any of your listeners are interested in a couple nonprofits that I work with, first is the McCreight Foundation of Virginia. So if you go to the Googles and type in McCreight Foundation Virginia, that's a nonprofit that our family runs to help Christian schools and Christian nonprofits, Christian and Catholic nonprofits, really nationwide. We have awarded monies in North Carolina and Georgia. We were actually able to help pay some tuition for some families in the aftermath of the flooding there out in Boone. So we got connected to a place called Grace Academy out in Boone, and we were able to provide some tuition money to them. And that was really fortunate that we were able to help them. And we helped a small preschool in Dahlonega. So we do work. We issue grants, and unfortunately we have to ask for money, but we do a good job of vetting who we give the money to, and that's good. And the other nonprofit I work with is here in Richmond. Start One Spark is what it's called. So if you go to Start One Spark, spark.org, we help defray costs for sports, music, arts, and theater for Title I's, two Title I schools in each county, two in Henrico, two in Chesterfield. And so we take in-kind donations of a lot of athletic equipment. We need donations to do things like help buy material for set builds for plays. In fact, we're going to go support a play tomorrow night at Falling Creek Middle School. So those are two things that I kind of do on the side, and increasingly interested in the nonprofit space. It's a tough thing to do, to raise money. It's kind of different than the financial advising that you and I were discussing before we came on, but it's a little easier because you're asking them to support a cause, and you're asking them to support a mission.
Yeah.
And so both for McCreight Foundation and Star One Spark, those are opportunities where we can give back and help the community grow. And so
that's all
great things, Bruno.
Yeah, very cool. Well, I appreciate you doing this, man.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it too. I didn't think I was that interesting, but appreciate the opportunity.
You come from an interesting family, and you've lived an interesting life. So yeah,
appreciate it.
Of course, we're going to talk.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to wherever you listen to podcasts. We'd also really appreciate if you'd rate and review us. You can find us at scodupodcast.com.